Weeks. Linda Mariano with you, and we're joined in the studio by the girls today, Tegan and Sara.
Happy to be here.
Happy to be here.
Taking over.
Well, you better, because if you ain't, you're gonna get it, girl.
We won't be welcome back here at FBI.
Never again.
94.5.
Arts.
Music.
Culture. Sydney. FBI.
So Jealous record. You know, a lot of people are saying it's the most liveliest and most ambitious Tegan and Sara album. Do you agree with stuff like that?
We certainly put a lot into it. We wanted to like Sarah and I, when we had our meeting, Sarah was like, I want to make, a more alternative record. And I don't, when you get to the studio, there's this instinct to make it sound really great because you're spending all this money. And sometimes that takes away some of the natural quirks of the way Sarah and I write, because we're not the best singers or the best writers or the best players.
We also spend a ton of time too, writing demos and writing songs really kind of sparsely. And
we get attached to that sound,
yeah.
And then you get to the studio and everyone tries to sort of fix that sound. And so we just decided, with So Jealous, to record it almost like how we record our demos, which we did. And it was infuriating sometimes for ourselves and for the people, like the producers and the band, but it just worked a lot better. And this record is, I think with most bands, if you're on the right path, and I think we are, your records do improve. Hopefully, God hope so. And this, and so I think that you see a lot of growth and change for sure. And I think we've always sort of had this really weird music that's kind of could be bordering on a little depressing and deprecating, and then it's to this kind of upbeat music, or this kind of power, alternative pop sort of music. So it's kind of this really weird. And that's why I think our live shows are kind of weird, because we're playing this kind of intense music, and then you're all standing there staring at us, and so we're anyway, so my cat is on drugs, and everyone laughs, and you're oh, I feel better. It's so nerve-wracking to be talking about how you got dumped, to do that in front of people. But we still seem to do it, even though it seems to make us seem crazy. Sarah's zoning out. She's oh,
I'm
God.
not zoning out. I'm just it's like watching you run down a hill on ice or something. It's just stop talking.
God. Well, usually you cut me off. I'm not. You guys are being so friendly. Just cut me off.
Okay, yeah. So just stop now.
I like long stories.
Take a little break. Yeah, we'll take a walk around the block or something.
I always wonder, musicians that have to go out there on the road, like you said, on, countries that you've never been to before, and then just pouring your heart out, I got dumped, I don't know whether to vomit or poo anymore.
Yeah, well, but sometimes people don't even care. You're anyway, this next song's about how I got dumped, and they're can I have your baby? Can I get married to you? And you're just I'm... okay, this next song's... Anyway, so you kind of... I don't know, sometimes it feels like you're pouring your heart out, but mostly people are just drunk, and I don't know if they know you're doing that.
Music, I don't really go to a concert. When I was a kid, I remember seeing Bruce Springsteen, and I wasn't, sitting in the audience being I wonder what Bruce is feeling, or I wonder what he went through when he wrote that song. I was, thinking about how it applied to my own life or whatever. And so, there's something really, individual.
But you're 12.
And
Imagine you had 4 beers in you, and you're...
No, but I was gonna say that there's something really interesting when you do go to another country, or when you have that kind of moment where you're oh my God, I'm in front of 800 strangers. You also it's kind of it reminds you that they're not necessarily wondering why you wrote that song. They're actually probably thinking about why they like that song, or what inspired them when they listened to that song to think about. And so it's not total revealing. There's still a way to be kind of
subtle about it.
Yeah, and there's you can still be very private, I think, and with you put out an album and it's really just a fraction of what really happened, or in terms of lyrics or whatever. You're really just, it's a poem, you can read between the lines, but there's still there's still something very private about explaining what happened without really explaining to anybody what really happened. So
do you get lots of people coming up and telling you their interpretations of how they've...
No, journalists do it. It's journalists. The fans never say anything about what they think our songs are about, to us, but journalists will sit in front of you and they'll be so when you wrote that song about that breakup that you had, and you must have been feeling like this, and so when you were feeling like that, and I'm what are you talking about? Oh, sorry, I kicked the mic. It's I don't have any idea what you're talking about. But they have come up with really detailed descriptions about what you must have written the song about. And it always makes me feel like they're crazy.
Is that flattering, or is that just annoying?
It kind of makes me think they're crazy.
I like it when they come up with something that's really random and not that close to the song.
Yeah, it's completely wrong.
Sometimes the fans will they'll write up the lyrics and stuff and get them wrong, and then misinterpret the song, and I'll feel I'll just totally think it's hilarious. But when they get it right, I feel ashamed. So I'm oh, am I that see-through? I have a friend in a hip hop group called Northern State out of New York, and they're just making a new record right now, and one of them just just like sent me an email, and they've been listening to our old record, and she like pegged one of my songs right on, and I just felt ashamed. I was just like, totally, I felt really exposed, because when you get to know people, even when you talk about yourself, you aren't really sometimes getting as deep as sometimes you might get in a song. Not Sarah. Sarah's very surface. I mean, being a spy and all. But with me, I feel very naked sometimes.
Naked.
Like Sarah, too, I guess.
I'm naked.
It's all about you.
She'll be naked tonight, right into the bar.
Oh, God.
No,
That's
don't
the
say
challenge. Sarah's going to prove. You did say this is becoming one of your favorite countries. Now you have to prove to them it's your favorite country by feeling at home, which means taking your clothes off and walking across the club.
Exactly. I like the way you rounded that up, Sarah. Now, you wrote this record back in 2003, So Jealous.
Mm-hmm.
So have you been working on new stuff since? It's been a couple of years, and you're going off the road after this show tonight at the Gaelic Club. What's next?
Well, we'll probably we have like some stuff, like just some loose ends that we have to tie up, and so we have to do. So I wish people could see how weird Tegan is and what she's doing and distracting you and I right now. It's really self-absorbed. It's like when she's not talking, she can't focus.
We're writing lots of new songs.
We are writing lots
new
of new
record's
songs.
going to come out next probably May or April.
Yeah.
Is that how it goes? No, April then
May.
May. Ooh, it's all backwards.
Tegan's gonna go back to school and
I get
learn
so
numbers.
confused because I want to say
Addition.
the spring, but spring for you guys is like a completely different time. So sometime next year for sure we'll put a new record out. Our plan is to start working on it this summer. So.
Yeah.
Which is not your summer,
It's
so I guess
July and August.
winter. I don't know.
Working months.
We're gonna work sometime in the next 12
months.
months. You'll probably see another Tegan and Sara record come
All
out.
right, well, we look forward to it. Tegan and Sarah, thanks so much for dropping by again this afternoon.
Serious?
Music interviews on FBI.
You're listening to FBI.